What's up, beautiful people? It's your girl, Leanne. We're getting blissed out. We're back again with a heart focus. It's a heart-based community podcast series number 3, the Trinity, the powerful Trinity. So here we are again, my beautiful friend from Conscious Living Radio, Conscious Living Network, and the Golden Friends, the Golden Journey. Andrew Rezmer, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, love. Together we're better. I like that slogan behind you. Looking good. Love it. So guys, we're just going to recap a little bit of where we've been going with this heart-based community podcast series. You know, in the first podcast, we talked a little bit about consciousness itself, the unconscious, the subconscious, the superconscious, and cosmic consciousness. And where that was leading us into our podcast 2 with building those bridges, exploring more about holding space, receiving, giving, and what that all means as a community and community leadership, and what we can do to set this invitation to welcome you in with us and be a part of this journey with us. In this wonderful podcast, we're now in 3. We will start with our question here, Andrew. How to keep the community connections healthy long-term consciously as we expand in support of each other?
That's a good question. And I think it almost like it's a foundation to ask other questions that are more specific to, because this is the outcome we want. And there's many different components to build that foundation. And one of the components is the driving behind any action that each of us individually and as a community would do. Because as we talked before, we can be motivated by greed or hunger for power, or we could be motivated by a heart. But at any point, it seems that our life drive for life is always somewhat connected to wanting to be seen, wanting to be appreciated, wanting to be acknowledged, wanting to be respected, wanting to be compensated for what we do. So if that's the direction, the expansion, the whole concept, just even the fact that we're growing, expanding, means that we're taking space from something else that was there before. See, so there is this conflict. On one hand, we want to incorporate and connect others and respect and treat equally, but on the other hand, individually and as a community, we want to expand. Expansion means taking over or repurposing something that is already there. So how do we do both? How do we keep everybody happy and expand individually? And again, as we usually start this in our conversation with waiver, we are not here to answer questions. We are here to ask, and answer has to be answered individually in each of our hearts. And so we see what happens when we're driven by greed or expansion or competition. We see what happens. What happens is the more efficient people or organization become more dominating in the industry. And then because they are more dominating, they become even more efficient because it's the scale. It's easier to cut costs if you're producing 1 million of whatever it is than if you produce 10 of the same item. So those who become more expand faster, take over smaller, and become dominated to the point where there is nothing else. Like that's why Facebook right now can own YouTube, can own Instagram, they own WhatsApp, they expand to the point where their ultimate goal is to be the only social media platform. That would be the ultimate goal, to expand to the point where there is no competition. And from the point of view of that one organization, that's the goal, to expand, to offer more, to be more efficient, to be better. But how can we, as a community, as a society, continue working in a way that we allow other form of expression to exist as well and work together as a collaboration, not as a competition.
That's a lot of reflection of keeping things as they are, but allowing the growth just to flow naturally.
Well, and again, what is naturally? It's, taking over. It is in some way natural, like humans took over Earth right now in some way. We control the weather patterns or influence weather patterns. We influence the what lives in the ocean based on what we dump to it. We control what air we breathe. We influence everything. The other species are not necessarily as impactful. So the growth is in some way natural form, but now when we are aware that our growth, our expansion can actually influence our ability to continue staying on that planet. If we continue growing the way we are growing as a humanity, as a society, as a species, it's we have 20, 30 years maybe, according to the experts who have devoted their life to seeing the devastation that we have. So growth, natural growth, sometimes leads to natural disasters. So how can we use our awareness, our consciousness, our heart-driven approach to life to change the way we grow, the way we expand individually as a group, in order to be sustainable? So we don't have to destroy this planet and fly and put another camp or colony somewhere else just in order to keep this humanity afloat, like Noah's Ark, right? Because everything we created devastated the earth, and the Noah's Ark was the only place where life was saved. Now we're building, there are a few organizations, a few businesses that are building ships that potentially would become this symbolic Noah's Ark that take our life somewhere else, because most likely we won't be able to keep living here because of the expansion and the way we're expanding. So that's why collaborative export is I think more sustainable than competition. Yet our entire system, everything that we surrendered ourselves out in the West, especially, but not similarly, is based on competition, based on how more money I get, more influence I have, more money I can make. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We want newer gadgets, more faster computers, faster cars, bigger homes. We want to expand. We want to be rewarded. We are seeing others who are giving credit to those who have more. We listen to them. We want to be like them. That's how we are trained from day one.
Good insight.
Yet we know that way of living is self-destructive.
That's a very good. Well, let's on that note, I know that there's a lot of here about collaboration better than competition and what we're highlighting on, but there's still something significant of what you're saying in the value of not looking in that direction in order to look within each other in the community. I feel like there's so much there, about look at the people that are broken. What can we offer? What can we do? And I know that has to come from within an individual. Why, look at Vancouver, the whole street is full of people on drugs. And you know why? Because you've done your work on yourself. And part of that reason is there's an unbroken psychology there that started that they're unaware of. And there is a lot that we need to do as a community to really be aware of. Yes, I want to lead myself to a direction where everybody's expanding, but expansion is within seeing everything. Both.
And I
Expanding,
think,
loving.
yeah, and I think that it's also, I think I would also invite us to not to see others as broken if they don't follow the path that we're following. If someone is on the street shooting drugs into their veins, this is the choice they made based on their situation, based on their values, based on their circumstances, past behavior, situation in life. And the minute we see them as broken, we're going to try to fix them to fit into our box that we're living in, our value system.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many different boxes. There's so many different value systems. So now there's going to be competition. Which value system is better? You know, which drugs are okay, which are not. Or if it's plants that have been used for thousands of years by indigenous cultures, is that okay? Is ayahuasca okay, but heroin is not okay? And if so, why? And so all those things. Instead, what I think could be a better, more sustainable approach, instead of seeing them as broken, is to seeing them as different and inviting them to see other sides, same like we invite ourselves to see the world through their point of view, to accept them for who they are, where they are, and invite them to see other points of view, other ways of being, because they feel they have no choice. They feel that's the only choice they have, is to shoot drugs into their veins because they want to numb themselves from whatever pain they have on the inside, and they don't know how else to deal with this pain. What if we don't see them as broken, we see them as different, and invite them to explore other ways of dealing with the pain?
Very well said. Thank you for that. Yeah, same thing for me this morning. Like, I did yoga class with 3 young people, right? I had this beautiful girl that I had met in the school when I was watching, for 7 years, I was watching children in the schools. And she was always drawn to me and kept finding me over the years. And now she's found me to learn about veganism. And now she's friends with my kids. And so we're in the forest, all 4 of us. And in the morning, I taught them yoga, and I offered them another opportunity to see a moment together. And we all put our energy through breath into what can we give back to the earth. So likewise, that's why I'm making these methodologies available, because where did I help myself transform into another way to expand? These methodologies work, and that's what I want to offer. And I want to be able to mold those, because I want to have an offering for the people of another way to see. And on that note, with our time in Zoom right now, I'm going to shift us to our next questions in another recording. I'm going to open us up. So let's just wrap up this one. Viewers, I know that this was a short one. I'm going to tag it and I'm going to expand a little bit more. But yeah, we'll be right back. Okay.
So before you finish, can I just wrap with another invitation?
Yes.
Because we're talking about the long-term health of conscious community, right?
Yes.
So right now, most of us, I'm not different, we try to invest into ourselves. We invest into our knowledge, invest into our homes, we invest into our future. We want to be independent. We want to be sustainable individually. So I'm put money on the side, so I'm going to have it when I'm not able to work in the future for retirement and this and that. So that's how we see we need to take care of ourselves and our future individually. That's our responsibility. What if we see it as a community? So we're investing into community in terms of itself. Instead of buying bigger house, we tap into community. We offer that growth, that expansion, that investment into community. So the community is surviving, not us individually.
Wonderful thing. Let's lead into the next podcast. We'll take that into the next one. Andrew, we'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, with that short commercial break, Leanne and Andrew Rezmer are back.
Commercial. I didn't know you're into commercial breaks nowadays. You're selling your pieces of your heart on. That's why you need to promote it, right? You
Yeah.
need to market.
So that was good. We just got into a
Heart is
juicy,
for sale.
delicious topic, and Zoom was cutting us off. We had our little bit of our meeting, and I put these timelines on about 40 to 45 minutes, but we are spontaneous, we're alive, we're thriving, and we have very important conversations here for the community to jump in and be a part of. Andrew, welcome back from Conscious Living Radio and Conscious Living Network.
Thank you.
Make people aware, repetitive in their subconscious. It's good for you guys to know these are the power sources in the community, and we want you to be a part of it. And we want more people to think that we're consciousness in the community. So let's continue with that, what you were saying at the end of that last part there, Andrew. Let's just, can you collaborate more further?
Oh, yes. So the invitation I was trying to put forward to ourselves and whoever wants to try that, instead of investing in ourselves or on top of investing with ourselves and as an individual, to invest into community. Like in the past, we didn't have retirement plans, RSPs. We had our village. So, and the village took care of us when we retired because we took care of the village when we were fully functional or younger and stronger. So that was our retirement plan, is to have group of people who are we connected and who appreciate who we are and want us to be part of and continue being part of that. They feed when we are hungry, and we feed them when they are hungry. We share our resources, we share our knowledge, we share our expertise, we share our experiences, both when we are succeeding and when we're growing. So that's the part that I want to continue inviting into us, you and me, and whoever else feels called to do the same, to do investments of the future into community. And the smallest community is usually family. We start, okay, I'm going to invest into my kids, and hopefully when I'm old, they're going to take care of me. I wipe their ass when they're young, and when I need my ass wiping, there's going to be, maybe that's too graphic. Okay.
No,
Anyways,
that's okay. Everybody needs to hear that, because the reality is, what do we go through in growth with that? We go through these birth, death, old age, and disease. And the prevention is, what advice or what opportunity do we want to put for the information to go into our hearts, into our community of hearts, into our mind of well-being, into the unexpected and the unknown with health? And how do we hold more space for every aspect that we face with the unknown every day? Right? And so that commitment, I think we take birth in the commitment in a family that not necessarily, we start to realize as we get older, the shift of like the young mind into another young mind. And so innocence has to be preserved. And how do we collectively get back to that observation of the innocence or childlike behavior, which all the Bibles or scriptures say, to enter the kingdom of heaven, we must be childlike. How do we come into that consciously within ourselves so that we can be reflectively here and now, like you said, inviting people to come back into the community and really help each other with this process?
Yeah, and as a society, we have evolved to the point where we wanted to be part of much bigger community with no limits. So we created something called money, currencies. So now, whatever my gift to the world is, if this gift is appreciated by others, I'm going to be compensated. I'm going to receive money, cash, which I can now use to purchase whatever, exchange that for whatever I feel I need. And in that way, we have more choices, because we can take that compensation that we received anywhere in the world and practically get anything, as long as we have enough of this currency. Where if you are part of community, and you're investing instead into community, you keep giving only because community needs it, not because you're going to get something back instantly out of the community. That's what, because community needs it. That's why I do it, for my village, for my community, for my family. And then hopefully, when and if I need something, the community is going to do the same. It's I scratch your back, you scratch my back. And so I'm inviting us to bring this communal approach back, to work together, to share resources, to share wisdom, to share food, to share whatever we have.
Let's talk now next about your advice on long-term friendships that way then, and what you feel about that, like what you see that happening. Let's talk now a little bit more openly on your advice about long-term friendships.
Yeah, well, that's, it's the full circle. I think the circle is that we start being completely dependent when we are born as a baby. We're completely dependent on mother. We came out of her, we heard her heartbeat for 9 months before we're even born into this world, came out of. So that becomes, her love for us, her attention, for time, energy she spends, her food, everything is dependent. My life has dependent and has been dependent as a baby on my mother. And then, sorry, I have a little bit background.
It's okay.
And so then after that, we became more and more independent in terms of we learn how to gather our own food. We learn how to build our own shelter. We learn how to become independent. And so I don't need my mom anymore. I'm strong, I'm independent. And then the next step, usually in our evolution, would be to find another human being, another person who we want to be seen, we want to be appreciated, we want to be acknowledged, we want to be loved. And we call it love. And we become so, we want that person to choose us from all 7 or whatever 0.6 billion people on the planet. I want you to choose me from all of it, and I will choose you in exchange. We will be committed to each other. We're going to have this long-term, intimate, exclusive relationship where I'm choosing you, you're choosing me. And friendship is taking that into beyond intimate component, but it's still emotionally intimate. It's still mentally intimate. It's still intimate in terms of our physical needs, but not intimate and necessarily sexually. So friendship, long-term friendship, is again, I'm making a choice. It's a choice. It's a choosing you to be committed to support and help each other for our hopefully life. So, right.
Well, that's where we are. And I mean, it's been over a decade and we're here now. So I really feel like we can only talk from our experiences, but I think I can shed a light a little bit about what we're talking about, what we're offering to the community. And then some of the beautiful insights about giving back to a community and being where we are right now. So let's reflect community. So you're watching me, you're watching Andrew, we're here. So in my 10 years of making this choice, part of it is who's showing up, like Andrew, I mentioned in previous, the joint venture aspect is, you're going to have to pick and choose. Well, what is it in you that you're driven to certain people? So I was doing media in the Indian community. I was writing in magazines, newspapers for a couple of years. Was going into Osho meditation, saw Andrew there, connected to somebody else who needed to help him to do this, blah, blah, blah. So there was some foundation there. But then from my personal experience of having options, do I go to City TV next? Do I go to this media next? Do I go there? But I'm going through a personal awakening consciously. And then Andrew had a conscious living radio. And then he connected me to this. So here's where I want to reflect the importance of the advice where Andrew would say, who are those people that you want to have long term, it really has to reflectively do with what's going on in you. Where do you want to grow? And where are you ready to expand? I can only invite you that this is solid. It's not going anywhere. So I want to make you feel that opportunity of what is solid, but what takes that is some rhythm of having something in common. And we're welcoming those doors, right? I really think that there's something important to have your borrowed truth, borrowed wisdom, and then personal experience always reflectively. And when you show up, you know, where we're growing, grow with us here. Ask the questions, get involved. Start asking questions. Because as I wake up every day and have an opportunity, I'm already expanding what I've already been seeing in myself. And now I'm seeing growing with Andrew as my friend. And now we have an opportunity to say, let's put our minds together. What can you contribute?
Yeah, it's so. What can I contribute?
Yes.
What can I contribute to this world, this community, this friendship, this partnership? Yes, it's what is my gift. And so the part that I also want to, in some way, invite beyond, because you said there has to be commonality, there has to be values that are shared values. And yes, in some way, it's easier to be friends with someone who reads the same books, or to be easier to be intimate with someone who likes the same movies, who likes the same food, who is the similar age, who has similar background, similar goals and visions, and so on. Because we don't have to convince any, we don't have to work on it. It's there already. There are this, you know, this singing the same song, so we can be a choir singing together. Yet, that choice is easy, but that choice doesn't give us the opportunity to expand, to grow, to learn new things, because we're just reinforcing whatever we already believe. If you believe that being, you know, eating plant-based food is good for you and for the community and for environment, and we're friends, it's easy to be friends because we share this value. Yet, being a friend with someone whose value may be opposite or different creates this opportunity for growth and expansion. It's more difficult, that's for sure. But if there is a commitment, if there is and we choose that we're going to support each other into growth, and we are not choosing, I'm not choosing you because you're echoing what I say. I'm not choosing you because you think the way I think, because you like what I like. I'm choosing you because you made yourself available for growth and learning and expansion and support. And even if your values are opposite of mine, because we're committed to support and grow, we're going to do so. So it's a choice and commitment.
So there's two aspects there. So we have the intimacy of an intimate relationship, and then we have the friendship. Before we go into the other aspect of this question I put here, there's a lot to grow in that one area of where we separate this one thing of sexuality, right? This whole thing about sexuality, I still feel really needs to be an internal work first, of being connected to your sexuality and being fully understanding yourself sexually, mentally, physically, knowing your mind, so that you can be expansive with people you're comfortable with or people that you may be opposite with. There's two interesting aspects in there where it all comes back to working on yourself and then overcoming what is that mind, what is that fear, or what is fear. So let's lead this. I'm juicing you up to think about, how about a long-term intimate relationships? Now talk about that.
Yeah, if you add sexuality into the mix, it becomes a much more in some way difficult concept, because the sexual drive is usually driven by biological needs, and those needs stem from the, why do we feel attraction to another human being? It's driven by to sustainability. We as humans need to have to have offsprings, and in order for those offsprings to be healthy, there is attraction to something that represents health. So youth, vitality, strength. So those are aspects of what we are subconsciously or sometimes unconsciously attracted to. We find someone and there's a sexual attraction, and we pursue it, and it's driven by this unconscious or subconscious components of us that are built into our beingness in order to procreate. And then we add other components to it. We add our mental, emotional components. We feel we want to be accepted, we want to be loved, we want to be special in eyes of that one person that we are attracted to. So now we're going to either play along with whatever we feel that other person wants from us, and we're going to put a mask and we're going to give her or him what we feel he or she wants for to love us, to accept us, to pursue us, to open themselves to us. So it becomes a little bit more so echoing what you said, the inquiry into ourselves. What am I driven by? Why am I attracted to this? Where is that coming from? Is that serving my long-term needs? Is that serving needs of as a human being, as a man or as a woman, or as whatever we want to identify ourselves as? Is that sustainable? Is that long-term? Am I just, is that just a knee-jerk reaction? Something that because of whatever happened in the past? Or is this something that I want to embrace and open? How can I grow? How I can learn? How can I become a better human being in this process? And how can support other person to become a better human being in this process? That's the ultimate goal of relationship, intimate or just friendship. Ultimately, we want to together be better than if we were separate.
Very nice. Okay, so with all this being said, and we've led ourselves in through a lot of wonderful aspects about collaboration and competition, let's talk about the community markets too. So I feel like now that we're going to go into a community, we're going to give something back to the community. We're going to open up our arms to a community. What are your feelings about community markets and how that would all look in your eyes and how we could benefit consciously together?
Well, again, I think this flows nicely from our discussion we just had a few minutes ago about the whole concept of community investing into a group of people instead of exchanging what we have into money, and then using money as this third party value system or measuring system of our success, of our contribution. Creating a smaller networks of people who are connected by whatever values or geographical location or something like that, creates more direct opportunities for meetings, for exchange, for trades, for things that are are more human to human, instead of using a third party measuring stick like money. So connecting, collaborate again. It's going back to collaboration. To okay, if I have some resources that I'm not using right now, it could be items or it could be photocopier at the office or whatever. If I have some resources that are not being used, how can I allow those resources to be used by others. And if they have some resources that they are not using, how can we collaborate? How can we create a network that we can, it's like right now, almost every house in the suburbs has a, let's say, a lawnmower. And that lawnmower is used once every 2 weeks and only during the season.
Mm.
Why? Why can't we have one lawnmower for 10 houses? It's just waste of resources, right?
Very good.
Right. So
Love that.
so that's the purpose of creating a smaller networks, communities, and exchange and trade and be more connected with others and collaborate instead of just wanting something for me.
Exchange and be the change.
Mhm.
Collaborate, exchange, and be the change. Repeat. I love this. I love this. Yeah, so I really feel like this will bring out more aspects with how we can do that online. I really like these words, exchange, and I'm gonna go deeper in this and just milk in this, because I really feel like the more that we are entering into our heart, and even though we've been conditioned to think this is my only family, this is everything I've got to make, now I got to keep doing this and just everybody be happy, we're still running a game where most people are just within their own mind and maintaining. But imagine the love that can come from looking into each other, building that bridge of exchange and nourishment, nourishing each other with love, the heart-based community. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's like, our body right now, whatever I call it, I and you call Leanne, it actually consists of millions of different individual life expressions, from bacteria, from viruses, from all different forms. Even individual cells are actually life by itself. Yet they work together to the point where we can function and we can grow and we can sustain. If one of them, like a virus, becomes too aggressive, it potentially can kill a host and dies in the process. So there has to be this sustainability, this balance, or at least the flow within the balance range, in order for all this whole system to be happy. And the same applies to community. Is we together can create a much bigger organisms that has much bigger range, but because we are collaborating, because we're working together, because we're sustainable, because we are looking after each other, now as a much bigger organism, we can sustain this process much longer.
I'm soaking this in, and viewers and listeners, really sit and listen more. When we're coming into the heart and all these beautiful ideas are coming out and opportunity, there's so much here that's just happening that I'm seeing through this gate in my eyes right now. I'm seeing and I'm envisioning people helping each other more. And what we need to be available for also is holding each other from the attachment to what we think we are versus what we can be. Let's talk a little bit about that while we wrap this up, Andrew. What we think we are versus what we can be. Shed lightly on this a little bit before we end.
Yeah, I think it's we kind of almost hammered it in every time when we speak, and I agree that this is important to continuously remind ourselves. It is all about being open, not believing that we have an answer, that this may be an answer for now, but it's not an ultimate answer. It's not, and there is, as long as we're open and allow other points of view, our values, our criteria to be explored, that's how we continually invite others and other perspective and other people and other points of view to be incorporated into our life.
So good. So good to finish this podcast 3 off. There'll be a little bit of a break in the middle, but it'll be a nice break just because we want you to feel just as organically as we're connecting, and we're using our master skills to continue to make these podcasts even better and more nourishing. We invite you again and again to come to this open page, open book, and share your feelings and thoughts from Blissed Out Network to Conscious Living Radio, Conscious Living Network. Andrew Rezmer, so good to be with you again.
Thank you so much.
Have a great afternoon. Namaste.
You too.